not embarrassed to be a Nebraska football fan or native very often, that was embarrassing. There's no other way to put it. And I know I'm more emotional right now than I'm going to be on Monday or whenever, or even in a few hours. This is terrible. This was embarrassing. This was unacceptable. These types of losses are unacceptable. Like, it's one thing when it's Penn State and you can point to talent or whatever. Having this and Minnesota on the resume in the same year is absolutely unacceptable. This is not something that, like, there has to be changes made. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, I think you need to fire this guy and fire that guy, but obviously something has to change. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what that's supposed to look like. I don't know what that needs to look like. I know it cannot look like this next year and expect something to be better. That's where I'm at. Because it's not just, I mean, listen, man, it's not just the play calls and whatever. And the defense, obviously, like giving 40 points up to Iowa, I will just never, just no, always no. Like, can never give up 40 points to Iowa for the rest of time. Like, just full stop. There's no excuse for that whatsoever. So when I sit here and say whatever is decided to be done over the course of the next however many days, weeks, months, and the off season, I'm cool with whatever changes, because this cannot happen. This cannot happen. This should never happen. And I can't sit here and tell you as positive and as encouraged I've been at times this year. That's all gone. All the encouragement has been gone, is gone. There is no positive spin. There is no encouraging takeaways. There is nothing here today. Emmett Johnson deserves better than this. Like, Emmett Johnson deserves better than this. He was incredible today. There is, I can't deal with seeing guys fail at the same thing over and over and over again and still putting them out there to fail again. I can't deal with that anymore. You already know that guy's going to fail. You already know certain guys are going to fail at the thing you're asking them to do. Either ask them to do something different or put different guys in there. Those are the only options. And Nebraska chose neither. Either do something different or put different guys in. Those are your only options. And Nebraska continued to keep trying to do the same things with the same guys that could not get it done, have not gotten it done at a certain, just do anything different. Just do it. Just do something different. Because that's how you give up 40 points to Iowa, by continuing to put guys who continue to fail in the exact same spots. That's it. That's how that happens. And I'm tired of watching it. I'm tired of, maybe the portal's the answer. I don't know. But players in the portal, and we keep asking guys to do things they can't do, or keep putting guys in positions to not be able to do things, or when they fail to do things, they just keep getting put out there. I don't know. It doesn't matter who you get in the portal. It just doesn't.
No.
So I don't there obviously needs to be changes made. I'm not in a emotional headspace right now to try and logically think through what changes make the most sense. But this is something that can never happen here again. And if it does, you really do have to start looking at wholesale changes.
Now, I'm kind of with you. I'm not on the fire anybody. I'm not going to sit here and say this guy needs to go, this guy needs to go. But that, you're right. This was an embarrassing performance. This should not have happened. I understand somebody in the chat said I was, averaging 30. Somebody said I was averaging 30 points a game this season. I don't know if that's true. I didn't look at Iowa's average points per game, but to say that they should score 40 on another Power 5 opponent that is competent, it shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen. Nebraska's defense statistically is way too good for that to give up 40 points to an Iowa offense that seemingly is inept, except for today. It's ridiculous. It's embarrassing. It's downright dumb with how Nebraska's defense looked today against an Iowa offense that, I mean, the commentators were even talking about how Iowa's wide receivers have struggled all season to get separation. And you saw that multiple times where Gronowski is sitting back there with a million mile or so much time to throw, but nobody is getting any separation, so he can't throw the ball, except for a few times when he's able to find somebody wide the heck open, and they just rumble down the field with absolutely no speed, and somehow our Iowa just gets into the end zone for 40 points. It's just ridiculous. And Nebraska offensively, you have Emmett Johnson, who went for over 200 yards. The man didn't deserve to go, if he decides not to come out, didn't deserve to go out like this. And the man put everything he could into this game, and Nebraska couldn't come through for him. He carried for over 200 yards. He was doing everything for Nebraska. TJ Lateef gets injured potentially sometime in the second quarter. And look, I understand that at that point in the first half, Nebraska still had a chance. They were still in the game. You're down by a single score. You're down by, barely 2 scores. I think it was like 10 points or something like that. Like you're still there. You open the second half and nothing. Absolutely nothing. Josh, there's no way to spin it. There's no way to spin this performance for Nebraska today. There's really no positives outside of Emmett Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, so I think there's obviously Emmett Johnson had to deal with, like, the offensive line had to perform at a certain level for Emmett Johnson to do what he did, right? Like, that's, I don't know how to get around that. I know that we don't like how the offensive line has looked all year, and that's fine, but I don't know how to get around a 1,400-yard rusher in a 200-yard game against Iowa with the offensive line being terrible. What I do know, my issues right now is the defense more than anything. Like, Nebraska got into the red zone 4 times. They didn't score in the red zone. They only got 1 touchdown in the red zone, so that's a huge problem. Like, I'm upset with the defense. I'm upset with, honestly, and I've been a huge Dana Holgorsen fan. I've not been impressed with Dana Holgorsen for the last half of the season.
It hasn't been great.
It's been really, really bad. I mean, Frank, it's not just not great. It's been really, really bad.
Yeah.
The last half of the season with Dana Holgorsen. Some of that is, I'm sure, the quarterback injury, but it's even today, right? Where you look at it and you go, what is happening with, they just start taking shots on second and short, and it's just, hey, they cannot stop Emmett Johnson. They cannot stop Emmett Johnson. Just keep giving Emmett Johnson the ball.
Yep.
That's
why is it so hard?
Stop putting Heinrich Harburg in the game at quarterback ever.
We talked about that in postgame. We talked about that.
We said, I don't want to. We talked about it in pregame. Don't ever put him behind center ever again.
I don't want to see it. I don't want to. And we did say, if you do it, run a bootleg. But
my God, what are we doing? Holgorsen,
I understand that TJ's hurt and he can't run, and you want some kind of option on the goal line, but just give it to Emmett.
Just hand it to Emmett.
They couldn't. They couldn't do anything.
Just go up to him and be like, "Hey, bud, this is a 40 carry game. I'm sorry." Or honestly, Mekhi Nelson and Mosey, they got 4 combined carries. If Emmett needs a break, give it to them.
Yep.
The offensive line actually performed well in run blocking today. There were holes there.
Yeah, sorry. Emmett wasn't the only bright spot. The offensive line did great today.
And for as big as the issue was with the receivers not making plays on balls, they actually did a really good job blocking on the perimeter. That's the only thing you had going today was your run game.
Mm-hmm.
So, just do that the entire time. That's all you can do. I do not understand. I was really excited for Dana and what that could look like this year. I thought for about half the season it looked pretty good. Last half of the year, it's been really, really bad. Really, really bad. I've got nothing. I've got nothing to defend the last handful of games with Dana. And honestly, as well as I thought at times the defense played over the course of the year, the dam breaking against Penn State, Minnesota, and Iowa is totally unacceptable. It just is. Like, it is totally unacceptable to have Iowa with no defensive scores and no special team scores put up 40 points on you. That is that's a fireable offense. I don't know if he's going to get fired or not. I don't know. And I'm not here. Like, I kind of am on some people probably need to not be here next year. I don't know who exactly, but
there's something on that coaching staff needs to change.
Something is broken. Something is broken.
I have no idea what it is, but it's something.
I don't they had the safety on special teams. That's right. They didn't get a special teams touchdown. They had 38 without special teams, right?
Damn near got a special teams. The kick return and the fumbled punt that should have been targeting, that wasn't called targeting.
There have been fireable offenses on the watch of this coaching staff. Something's broken, and I still think Rule is the guy, but he needs to make some changes. And I don't know what those are, because I don't know. Yes, Cal Jam, it was targeting. I don't know where in the process. I don't know where in the process that it's falling apart, that there's a disconnect, whatever. But on the second level, you're telling me there is not a single linebacker that can get downhill with his hair on fire and actually set an edge or be in the hole that he's supposed to be on. You're telling me there's not a safety outside of Deshaun Singleton. And I know having to replace Malcolm Hartzog was a big deal, right? But you're telling me there's not a single safety on that roster that can get downhill and fill a run gap and make a tackle and not just get dragged for yards or
that's ridiculous.
Or take terrible angles or get absolutely just put into the ground by a tight end that hasn't caught 4 balls all year. And you can't tell me there's nobody else. You can't tell me there's nobody else at the second and third levels that can do better than that. And if there's not, then maybe we start there with changes that need to be made. But if that's not, if there are guys on that team, then the guys making the decisions on who's playing, that's where I want some changes to be made, because I'm just not here for these are what we've seen are fireable offenses. They absolutely are.
Mm-hmm.
These are what we've seen, especially today, but the accumulation of Iowa, Penn State, and Minnesota, the accumulation of those three, because listen, USC and Michigan, I really don't have issues there. I really don't. Those are losses. Dillon gets hurt in the middle of USC. I really don't have a problem with those losses. But Minnesota, Penn State, and Iowa, what was allowed to occur in those games is malpractice, whether it's not showing up at all, like the Minnesota game, whether it's getting absolutely dominated by a team that I get Penn State's talented, but come on now.
You got your head kicked in.
You got your head kicked in by Penn State. And then to be in this game early, it's 10-10. They're in this game early. And then to just completely wilt when things started getting difficult is that accumulation of things. I think there needs to be some changes made.
It was ridiculous.
I don't know what that looks like. I really don't. But you can't just run it back. I agree, Kenny. I'm also mad at the refs. I thought they were very bad. That doesn't lead to 40-16.
No.
It doesn't. Yes, there was targeting on the safety, and that was a huge turning point momentum-wise in that game. But that doesn't get you to 40-16. There was a bunch of holding penalties on Iowa that don't get called. I mean, even the CBS commentators that were terrible acknowledged some of them.
They were like, "Oh, I understand why Nebraska's coaching staff is upset. They definitely should have been holding."
There's a lot of those, but Nebraska got, especially in the second half, got punked again. And that keeps happening. I don't know how you can just sit there and say and run it back next year and feel okay about it. I really don't.
No. things need to happen. Things need to change. Again, like you said, I don't know what needs to change. This isn't just a players thing. This isn't just a coaches thing. This is a whole thing. This is everybody. And I understand, earlier last post game, and you guys can get on top of me for this. I said, oh look, they have 7 wins. It's a pretty good season. They still have a chance to get 8 wins and 9 wins with a bowl game. But I still feel like it's 7 wins is a good season, but after that, it almost seems like you could just flush the 7 wins down the toilet. It's 7 wins, and you get your head kicked in
40-16.
You get your head kicked in 3 times by a bad team, a team who doesn't have a coach, and only has 3-4 wins on the season at the time, and the worst part of it all, not the worst part of it all, but to me, the worst part of the Iowa loss is that you made their offense look good. You made your defense, which again statistically was a solid defense, made an Iowa offense that statistically is bad look like a how they kept saying in the during the game that Iowa was a couple plays away from being a playoff team. You made their offense look like they could compete in the playoff with their defense. Like, it was ridiculous how bad Nebraska looked and really all of the terribleness, all of the badness came in the second half. Yeah. The first half, Nebraska's run defense, outside of there was a couple big runs and the pass play to the tight end.
I don't know. It was after the first quarter. They did really well in the first quarter, and after that, they kind of got their heads kicked
and they just collapsed.
Yeah,
just collapsed, and it's so frustrating because you're just sitting there, and you're like, what did you change? What did they change to go from you looking like, oh, you might run away with this, to, oh, Iowa's running the ball down your throat, passing it over your heads, and somehow has 40 points?
That's what I mean.
It's just, you cannot, like you said, you cannot run this back. You can't just say, all right, we have this, let's do it all again next season. I hate the schedule talk, but with next year's schedule, granted, we don't know who's going to be where or who's going to do what, but you just look at names. Just look at names and logos. Next year's schedule looks like a dog. And if you take this same team and you give this same performances next season, you are in a world of hurt.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even doing the schedule thing because I have no idea who's on what team next year. I don't know who's going to be coaching what teams next year. Like, I'm not doing schedule talk right now. What I am doing is, I don't care who's on the schedule. If you run this back, it's going to be really hard to sell. Right? Like, it's going to be really hard to sell running it back the way it looked for this year. It just is. Like, there was I was pretty clear in the offseason that 8-4 was my minimum for progress. They didn't get to 8-4. I was pretty clear, there were some of these games you needed to win. Minnesota was an absolute game you had to win. Iowa was a game you had to win. And certainly not to lose like that. That was, again, embarrassing is the only word I have.
If you lose another 1-score game to Iowa on a last-second field goal, it sucks. It hurts. It's bad. But it's not. You're not sitting here saying, you know what, everything needs to change. That was terrible. Like, you don't feel good about the season, but you still feel like you're pretty close to making that next jump. This loss makes it feel like you took a couple steps back.
Yeah, it makes it feel like you're 4-8 again. Honestly, it is. And again, I don't want to say there were no positives because Emmett Johnson and the run blocking were both very good today. But that's how much everything else was terrible, was that didn't matter at all. Emmett Johnson ran for 200 yards and it didn't matter at all. You know how hard that is to accomplish?
You got 200 yards from your running back for the first time since Amir Abdullah. The first time since Amir Abdullah, your running back went for 200 yards, and it didn't do a damn thing.
It didn't matter at all. You still lost by 24 points. That's how bad everything else was. So I'm not gonna try and tell you I'm not anybody that's hey, Butler needs to be fired. Whoever needs I can't tell you no. I can't. Whether I agree or disagree, I can't tell you you're wrong because it can't look like that ever. It can't. And I know TJ got banged up. Guess what? Give Emmett the ball 40 times if you have to. They were never in danger of stopping that ever. And also, if he's that hurt, put in the backup.
Exactly.
If he's
If
that
all you're
hurt,
going to do is turn around and hand the ball to Emmett, which you should have done, put in somebody else behind under center.
put in Gramstad. Like put in somebody else. If he's that hurt that he literally can't do anything, and he sort of looked that hurt on that little rollout where he was lipping off the field or towards the sideline on the little rollout to Emmett Johnson, like that is like if he's that hurt, you got to put somebody else in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. Like, I know you don't want to put your third string quarterback in, but what good is it to have a 40% second string quarterback in?
Yep. The commentator said, look, he could have run for that first down. It was like 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, whatever it was. Like, if he's healthy, he runs for that. I guarantee he runs for that. He gets the first down. But he was struggling to roll out. It's his plant leg. He can't throw.
Yeah, like I don't like you wonder why he's overthrowing everything. If you can't plant, like that becomes an issue. Right? Like there was a pretty clear and listen, so that's again, it's a coaching, like people are saying they got outcoached. Like, yes, they got outcoached in every facet. I don't know what, there's nothing else to say. They got outcoached in every facet.
Yeah, I can't argue with you.
Like there's nothing else to say. Like I don't know. There's nothing else to say. They got outcoached in every facet. The offensive line run blocking, the perimeter run blocking, and Emmett Johnson were super positive. That's it. And it didn't matter even a little bit. If we had gone into this game and I said, hey, Emmett Johnson's going for 200 yards, there is not a single person who would have told you they lost that game. Mm-hmm. Not a single person on either side. There's nobody from Iowa that would have told you they won that game if they got 200 yards rushing. I think it's the most rushing yards they've given up since Melvin Gordon, I thought I saw somebody say. Like, what are we talking about here? Josh, I literally just said they got outcoached in every facet of the game. What does that mean to you? What does that mean to you?
What do you want? What do you want us to say?
What does that mean to you when I say they got outcoached in every facet of the game? You think that's excluding? Is every an excluding word? Please tell me.
They got like Josh,
Matt Rule and John Butler and Daniel Holgerson and Terry Braden and Rob Dvorak and Addison Williams, and I'm not going to say Donnie Raiola because the offensive line, again, I thought played pretty well. I thought E.J. Barthel, if you're going to give credit to Emmett, you got to give credit to E.J. there. Mm-hmm. We'll call it Jaquil Shorts. I thought they did a good job blocking. They didn't make plays. Those are all the names. They got outcoached in every facet of the game. We good? Are we good? Can I move on now? They got outcoached in every facet of the game. There. I said all the names. Like, this was a failure. I feel like I've been saying that this entire damn time. This was a failure of proportions that cannot be allowed to continue. I feel like I've said that several times. Get rid of whoever you want to. I don't know where the failure starts. I also said that. Get rid of whoever you want to. I think there is good leadership in the athletic department, and I do think that includes Matt Rule. From a football standpoint, they got their heads kicked in today. So get the football stuff right. Like, let's start there. I know, like, I don't know what else you want. Get the football stuff right. Yeah, they gave up 77 in the last 2 games. A failure across the board. Yes.
Just bad. BTA, the opponents for Nebraska went BTA in the last 2 games. There's nothing else to it.
Would a healthy Raiola have made the difference? Today, I don't know. I really don't. Maybe.
Maybe. But like maybe you're able to run. I mean, you didn't run the ball with your quarterback. So you have a healthy Raiola. He's able to throw the ball. Maybe. But your defense, Raiola can't play defense.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, that's why I really don't know.
And maybe if he is in, your offense scores more and the defense is more relaxed, whatever it is. But it felt the defense was just on their heels most of the game. And I was just taking advantage of that. After the first quarter, Nebraska looked great. Defensive, offense, not great. They looked really good. They looked really good in the first quarter. And you're like, okay, this is going to be a really competitive game. They're scoring points. Both teams are scoring points. And then Nebraska's defense just decided that football was something that they didn't know how to do.
I have no idea. I don't know if he would have made a difference today. I don't think he would have made a difference last week. I do think they beat USC with him. Like I
Yes.
think they beat USC with Raiola. I think they would have beat UCLA with Raiola. I don't know. I don't think it would have made any difference against Penn State. I don't know today. I genuinely don't know. What I do know is that there were so many failures on the defensive side of the ball that you would have needed like prime Cam Newton to give Nebraska a shot today. Like, honestly, like, I don't, like, even then I'm like, I don't know. Like, you gotta have to stop somebody at some point.
Yeah, like you need to just score every play, or not every play, every drive that you had the ball. Like you could not see Archie Wilson at all.
No, and
if
so,
you
like,
wanted a chance to win this game.
Like, you give me prime, like, you give me like 05 Vince Young, like maybe we're on to something here, but I genuinely don't know. So,
And Funky Giblets, I agree. Like there were a couple passes that Latif dropped them in there. There were some passes where it's hitting the receiver's hands. You have to catch those. You have to.
I thought
if Iowa's receiver can catch the ball without seeing it with one hand, if you get two hands on the ball, catch it. Catch it. There were a few that it was just amazing defense. Fantastic defense by Iowa's defensive backs. But again, if you're getting two hands on the ball and nobody's legitimately smacking the ball out of your hands, catch it. That's your job. And I understand that you're blocking really well. No block, no rock. Sure. Guess what? You blocked well. You still didn't get the rock because you couldn't catch it.
Yeah, they have to, the receivers had to make some plays. They absolutely had to make some plays. They didn't. Iowa's receivers, who are not good, couldn't get open for much of the game, and Iowa won despite that. The only guy that got open for most of that game was that stupid 81 tight end that Nebraska just was like, don't have to cover him ever, apparently. Yep. And again, those are the second and third level defenders that I already talked about earlier that I like just play anybody else. You're losing with these guys. You can lose without them. They're giving up 40 to Iowa with these guys. You can give up 40 without them. Like this.
Yeah, at this point, it's what do you have to lose? What's the worst that could happen? They score again? Oh no!
And this is what I talked about pregame, right? About there was a rumor you were going to see a bunch of different guys. We didn't see a bunch of different guys.
No, not until the very end when it was out of hand.
Yeah, when it didn't matter, right? Yeah. Like this was like I wanted to see new guys. Like I'm at the point where it's like, hey, these guys clearly are not able to do the thing you're asking them to do, and you're not asking them to do something they can do, at least not something that's effective. So what's the point of keep throwing those guys out there? Like, this is a game you can win. This is a game you can win. And like I said, whatever changes decide to be made, I'm cool. Like, I'm not going to sit here and pound the table for anybody. Like I said, I do think there's good leadership from Dannon and Rule. I think the football we're a long way away. I think we're a long way away from the football. I don't want to sit here like we're really close guy right now. I don't feel that way. Maybe
it really feels like all of the progress that you made throughout the season. You can't wax poetically about the progress you made throughout the season if this is how you end it. Because it's you can sit here and say, oh, Dana Holgorsen is without his quarterback, and John Butler's without one of his starting set, but like it doesn't really matter what they did earlier in the season because you're supposed to progress as the season goes on. And I understand you lost Dylan Raiola, but it seems like you got worse. It seems like, and somebody in the chat said it, the USC game beat them twice. And
listen. Well, the USC didn't beat them twice. They played UCLA the next week and they won.
I understand, but it just seems like without, again, the USC game losing Dylan, I'm not going to say it lost you the Penn State game or this one, but it just feels like after that game, even though you did win UCLA, it just didn't feel the same. Nothing felt the same.
Yeah, but nothing felt the same defensively, and I don't know how that's related to a Dylan injury. I really don't. Like I do think focus was an issue. Like, I don't know. Like, I think focus was an issue. I think preparedness was an issue. Although they seemed pretty prepared at the start of today's game.
Yeah, that's the difference between this one and Penn State is they looked good at the beginning.
Listen, they never looked good against Penn State, but it was 10-3 with 4 minutes left in that game, or in the first half of Penn State. So, like, it's not like it got away right away from them either. What I'm having a really hard time with is what I'm having a really hard time with is if they are prepared to start, which it seems like they maybe were against Iowa and Penn State, is what adjustments are being made by the coordinators in real time, because it seems like Nebraska is getting their ass kicked there. Whatever is changing, it's either adjustments or it's player focus. One of those things is changing over the course of the game, and Nebraska is getting their ass kicked in that area. Somebody asked, what do I like about Rhule's leadership? I like the way he represents the state and represents the program. I like the way he rides for the program. Whether you're a fan of the podcast appearances or not, which, listen, at this point, I'm cool with shutting it down too. If you just want to like hunker down and like, I like all he gives us in terms of a state as fans and media. I like the information he gives us, but it probably works against him in terms of, I don't think he's missing time doing his job, but making yourself that available if you're not going to play better is like, that's a tough look. I understand that. And I understand that's not really what people want to see. I think he does a good job setting a culture of the type of place we want this to be. That's what I mean when I say I like his leadership. I also think there's a lot of stuff on the football side that either has to change or is so far beyond me that I don't understand what's happening. I'm not really one to think that's the case. I think there's a lot of football things that need to get fixed in a hurry. Like, that's where I'm at with this. I think it's inexcusable the way the defense has looked. I think the offense has really, really struggled even before Dylan got hurt, since about halfway through the season. There's just, and again, whoever's making the decisions on who goes into the games, frankly, especially on defense, like I need better answers there if somebody keeps their job. And I don't know who those decision makers is. I've asked DB this before about whether it's position coaches, whether it's coordinators, who that is. And it really just does depend on the staff. So I'm not trying to have a bailout here. I don't know who makes that decision. I don't know anybody.
Who decides what players are playing at those positions, whether it's the position coaches saying these are my 4 best, these are the 4 that are going to play, or the defense coordinator says, no, I want this guy in this spot, not that guy.
Correct. Yeah. Like, I don't know who's, because it depends on staff by staff, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know who's making those decisions for Nebraska. What I do know is wherever that failure is occurring, that needs to be addressed, because that is a failure, in my opinion. The last couple weeks have been a total failure on Nebraska's part. They were totally outcoached in every facet of the game outside of Emmett Johnson and I think the run blocking. Like, everything else, I think, is on the table. Like, ironically, and I know people are going to get mad about this, one of the only guys that I'm like, yeah, I don't think you should fire him. And I think I'd actually be like a little, like, I wouldn't be super mad, but the guy that I think probably deserves to get fired the least is Donnie Raiola.
Oh, he said it.
Like, the offensive line, especially when they called plays to their strengths, was actually pretty good. Like, they really were. The depth that they've developed in dealing with a bunch of injuries, actually pretty good. Like, and listen, and if you do get rid of him, I'm not gonna, die on that hill. But if you're just talking about guys that, like, if you're making a hierarchy of guys that don't deserve to get fired, he's probably pretty close to the top of that list. Like him and EJ Barfield.
You're not wrong. I honestly, I don't think you're wrong.
He's the only guy that I don't know how you have a 1,400-yard rusher and can say that the offensive line was terrible, right? I think they were asked to do some things, and again, this would go to play calling and kind of some frustrations I'm having with Dana Holgorsen. But like, I think they were asked to do some things that probably didn't go to their strengths.
Yep.
And once they kind of got past that, I honestly think they were pretty good. So defensively is where I have most of my issues. Offensively, I really have not loved the play calling, because you've got this 1,400-yard back, and I'm like, hey, maybe we just let this guy cook. And it didn't ever seem like they were, today especially, just willing to let him go get it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I get he had 29 carries and 217 yards. If that's too many carries for him, then like keep running the ball. Just put somebody else in. Like
I say you can sprinkle in the other running backs. You gave 3 carries to your second and third string running backs. Like you didn't really allow you. And I understand that Emmett was running hard and they couldn't stop him. So look, if he's running as hard as he was running, I wouldn't want to take him out either. But if you're truly that concerned about his health and him carrying the ball too much, put somebody else in. It's really not that hard.
Yeah, like again on the 3 carries, which I get there were only 3. I thought Mosey and Nelson looked good enough. Right? They're not going to make some of the plays that Emmett Johnson did, but that's a better option than the other things we saw.
Yeah.
Like what was Nebraska passing the ball?
They were 9 for 24, 69 yards.
Yeah, like so don't do that. Like
yeah.
What did
Iowa also only completed 9 passes, by the way.
Yeah, it was like 9 for 16.
He was 9 for 16 for 166 and a passing touchdown.
Yeah, like that's yeah. I don't.
To stay on your Donnie thing, if you take out the 9 sacks for Minnesota because that was just a terrible performance all around, right? We can agree on that.
Yeah, it was. I mean, they count, but yeah, sure.
I know,
yeah.
but I'm just saying, whatever. Dylan was sacked 18 times this year, and I understand that he didn't play in the last 3.5 games of the season.
Mm-hmm.
But against USC, you only allowed 1 sack, and that was unfortunately the one that broke his leg. And then however many you gave up for TJ Lateef after that. But the offensive line, for as gross as people want to say they played and at how gross they did play for some parts of this season, they have made some pretty decent improvement under Donovan Raiola.
Yeah, and again, if Rule looks at it and says, "Yeah, we got to get rid of that guy," like I'm cool with that. Like I'm just saying, if you're making a list of guys
who need to go
that deserve it, he's not super high on mine personally. I think he's done okay. I just really don't. Honestly, I think the top of the list is probably Butler, if I'm being honest. Like,
yeah, I mean, look, he wanted to run a defense, his own defense. He was able to at Penn State that 1 year. He got his chance this year. And if this was supposed to be a, show us what you can do, this is your defense, run it. I don't think this was a good enough interview. In an entire season of an interview, I don't think it's good enough to keep him around. Honestly, I like him as a secondary coach. Look, the secondary, aside from the last 2 games, for whatever reason, played really well this season. They played really well as a secondary coach, as a defensive backs coach. I think he's great. As a defensive coordinator, I think he's lacking.
So I think the pass defense was really good with the secondary. The run defense with the secondary was really bad all year, and it has been.
Okay, yeah, I'll give you that.
So I'm not even gonna die on that hill. I really, really struggle with almost everything we saw on defense. I really struggle with almost everything we saw on defense. The run fits from the second and third level were bad. I don't understand. Yeah, the pass defense got bad the last couple of weeks all of a sudden.
For whatever reason.
And it's not like they switched, so they're like, oh, now we're stopping the run.
Yeah. It just got bad.
Yes.
And it's not like the last 2 games were, you're giving up 400 yards and, 18 passing touchdowns on 50 whatever completions. You gave up less than double-digit completions the last 2 weeks, but for whatever reason, they're going for big gains and touchdowns.
Yeah, I would rather you give up 30 completions for 150 yards. I don't care how many completions they have. I care about the huge chunk plays that absolutely killed them. And that's a huge problem. I don't understand that at all. Sierra Wright was, I thought Sierra Wright's been great in coverage.
He didn't move to safety. They moved him into the slot.
Nickel. Yeah, it was nickel. Yeah. So he's the nickel corner instead of the boundary corner.
Hate.
The only time I thought it was good was when it ended up meaning he matched up on Malachi Lemon the entire game, or Makai Lemon the whole game, and that was the worst game of Makai Lemon's season, basically. That's the time that it worked out. But I think they felt limited in some of their other options. But I agree. I don't think you should move where one of your strengths is to cover a weakness, because now you're weak in 2 spots. Like, BU Bulldog says, this type of game at home, senior night against an unranked team, is completely unacceptable in year 3 of the program. Traven, I don't know. I'd have to do some research. I know last year the SMU defensive coordinator was in the mix for things. There were a couple other guys whose names escape me. I do think SMU's playoff run last year was part of the reason they didn't end up going that direction. I don't think they wanted to wait that long. But I really don't know that Butler was their first choice. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't, but I don't think you can continue without some changes. Like, I really, really don't. BU Bulldog, it might be a personnel issue. It certainly could be.
They don't have a big enough dude in the middle for that. And I've heard, I'm not going to pretend that I'm some football expert, but listening to people smarter than me, that's kind of important in a 3-3-5 or a 3-4. Even then, is having a big dude in the middle who can eat up blocks and be that kind of run stopper. And they didn't have that this year. Well, I don't know if they have it on the roster, but they didn't have it this year.
If you don't have that, you have to be incredible at the second and third levels. The reason I don't know if it's a personnel issue, Bulldog, is I don't feel like we saw enough of the other personnel to have any idea. I really don't.
Yeah.
Like, I really don't. I have no, like, if you're going to play that way and you're going to play with smaller defensive linemen, like, you have to be better on the second and third levels than you were. And I don't know if they've got the personnel to be better on those second and third levels, because we didn't really see it. We saw Dawson Merritt for a little bit, and like, I think he got banged up, so we didn't see him much anymore. That could have made a difference. Obviously, you've got Vincent Shavers, has the club on his hand, which I think makes a big difference. But we really didn't see very many options back there. And listen, I know people are like, oh, we can't talk about how big the defensive line is or whatever. Guess what? If all these guys were 330 pounds and they still played in the way they do and make the mistakes that they do, it doesn't matter that they're 330 pounds. Like, a lot of it is setting an edge. A lot of it is staying in your lane and keeping your assignment. So, like, if that is not happening, really doesn't matter how big you are. And some of those things, I would argue, can be more difficult with bigger guys, especially if they don't have the requisite athleticism. Like, I don't know that we appreciate how good Ty and Nash were, right? They covered up for a lot of the things that were problems last year, I think. And also, I know people are like, oh, just go in the portal. Just go, like, we talked to Tim on when there's not Ty and Nashes in the, like they're not just out there. If they go, they go to Texas and Georgia.
They're not a dime a dozen. The guys that you want to get, the guys that'll fill those holes, first off, are going to be asking for and deserve a ton of money. And secondly, they want to go somewhere where they're also surrounded by superior talent, where them just being the only guy there and making all of those plays isn't going to result in an Emmett Johnson type performance where you still give up 40 and lose the game. Where you do everything you can in your power to win the game and you still lose.
Yeah, and listen, some of those guys are big enough to do better than they've done, right? Like, that's where I land. Are they big enough to run a 3-3-5? I don't know, but they're big enough to do better than they've done. Like, I'm very confident about that. Are they good enough? Are they tough enough? I don't know. Like, I don't know. What I do know is, yeah, I'm fine with dropping the 3-3-5 Buckethead. I'm cool with that. Get rid of the 3-3-5.
It's not my choice. I'm not the defensive coordinator.
Like, if I'm talking about evaluating Butler and all these other guys, like, I'm evaluating the scheme and everything else too. Like, I'm totally fine with that. like I said, nothing for me is off the table in terms of what needs to be evaluated. Like, Eckler is probably the only part of this, like the only coordinator that I'm like, yeah, leave him alone forever, pay him whatever he wants, let him retire at Nebraska whenever he's ready. After that, like, I'm open to it. Let's hear it, because this is completely and totally unacceptable. There is no way around it. And I don't think you should have Eckler at DC, because that would take him away from special teams, and special teams was dramatically better this year. I know you have the safety, but there's not a lot you can do about a targeting into a fumble. Like, that's not
It's the crown of his helmet into his face mask. If that's not targeting, I don't know what the rule is. But the one of the more frustrating parts of this game is that you get a field goal, you kick off, and you recover the kickoff. I don't know what WetGen was thinking. You recover the kickoff, and the best you can do with that is another field goal. Like, you didn't turn that into a touchdown.
Yeah,
you didn't turn amazing field position.
They stole a possession. They stole a possession and they weren't able to take advantage of it in the way they needed to, because I think I said that on pregame. I said it at some point this week. You're going to have to steal a possession at some point. Jay Saudi says, if you're undersized, you have to have other elements to your game. That's what people are mad about. The D line is smaller and don't get it done. That's why people think bigger is better. Now, I actually think that's true. And I think some of those smaller guys do have other elements to their game. That's why I like them. I think Keona Davis is super explosive. I think Williams Nwaneri can be super explosive. The guys that we're really mad at and that we're really talking about are Riley Van Poppel and Elijah Judy, right? Like, let's be honest there. We're not even talking about the whole defensive line. I would have liked to see more out of Cam Lenhart. I felt like there was more in there. Felt like we saw flashes of it his freshman year. We haven't really seen it since then. I don't see him getting killed a lot, but he's kind of more of a neutral player, it feels like, on the defensive line, which maybe that's what they needed. Like, if Judy and Van Poppel had been neutral, maybe that looks better. I understand that that's why people think bigger is better, and I'm fine with that. I think Riley Van Poppel athletically is explosive enough to make up for his lack of being 320 pounds. We didn't see that on the field very often. I think that's where the disconnect is. So, Jay, that's a very good comment. I appreciate you making it, because I do think that's where the disconnect is I think there is explosiveness in some of those bodies on the defensive line. I don't think enough of those guys played with explosiveness frequently enough for us to get over the fact that they weren't Ty and Nash sized. So that's a good point, and I'm glad we were able to kind of find some clarification there, because I do think that's true.
Yeah, you don't need the 300-plus pounders if your scheme is good. If you have if your technique is good.
So I think technique maybe is more than scheme, right? Because I think there's physical ability there on a lot of those guys. I can't really speak to what they're being asked to do. What I can say is I know they're not being asked to get blown off the ball or to get washed out or to, or to over pursue or, what I mean? So I think that's a big part of it as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if the scheme in setting those guys up in the right spots to maybe not make the play, but allow somebody else to make the play, and then the technique to get that done. What you're being asked to do, having the skills and the want to get that done, that's extremely important. And that part comes down to not just coaching, but the want to from the player as well. Like, the coaches, and this is something that I've argued with people for quite a while. The coaches can put you in a position to succeed. They can set everything up perfectly for you. But once the ball is snapped, it's on the players.
So that's why
the coaches will put you. Yeah, the coaches will put you in these spots, and they're like, look, this is what you need to do. This is where you need to hit. This is, if this happens, then this. They'll do all of that for you. But as soon as the ball is snapped, it's out of the coach's hands. It's on you.
That's why I wanted to see other guys, because you're not changing defensive coordinators in like mid-game. So show me other guys, right? You're not changing schemes. Mid-game. So show me other guys, right? Like,
the adjustments aren't happening for whatever reason.
So show me other guys, right? Like, if the scheme, if they truly believe the scheme is sound, if they truly believe the scheme is sound, show me the other guys, because the guys that you're putting out there clearly aren't doing it. Like DBJR, literally anyone else, just try things. Like at a certain point, you just have to try other bodies. Like if you
David Hofkin got in and he made a tackle on a run.
Like if you continually see, it is the youngest team in the Big Ten, so play some of the young guys. That's kind of my point. Like if you continually see guys that aren't making plays, then you have to try something else, because it's not any worse than the guys already not making the plays.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole point, is like you're not losing anything. That's the frustrating part for me. I brought it up this week at DB. I brought it up in pregame. That's the frustrating part for me, is if you already know these guys aren't making the plays you're asking them to make, then what does it hurt if different guys don't make that plays? What's the downside there? Right? Like, what is the downside of just someone else not making the play?
Yeah. And that, like, my argument with that at the beginning was like, if you're winning the game, if you're playing well, like, you don't want to just swap other people in there. But at a certain point, when the guys who are in the game, and whether you're winning or losing, just aren't getting it done, at that point, it's like, dude, like, either take them out so you can get their head right, because maybe their head's just not in the right space, or just sub somebody else in who, at worst, is going to give up exactly what they're giving up.
That's what I mean.
At best, they'll do something different. Maybe they'll a game-changing play. You don't know, because they're not in. They're not playing.
Like 81 for Iowa couldn't have been more wide open because somebody else was in the game. That is physically as wide open as someone can be within the dimensions of a football field. Like, you could put him in Siberia and he'd be more open, but that's out of bounds, right?
You could put him in Uzbekistan.
He could not have been more open within the bounds of a football field. So let someone else have him be that open, or maybe they won't, right? Like that's my issue here is, and DBJR, I don't know who's making those decisions. I don't. Like, that's not an excuse. I genuinely don't. It depends on staff. They don't tell us those things, right?
Nope.
Maybe
and they never will.
Maybe it's position coaches. Maybe it's one of the 3 defensive back guys talking. Maybe it's defensive coordinator. I don't know. Maybe it is head coach. I have no idea. Buckethead Todd said maybe the defense doesn't trust Butler. That might be true. I have no idea. But like, if that's the case, you got to move on.
Then that's the change you need to make.
Like, like if that's true, you got to move on. Like that's why I'm saying I don't know where the failure or the breakdown is, but wherever it, like that will be Rule's job to identify. That will be Rule's job to identify and say, hey, this is where the failure is, and boom. Yes, Jay Sadi, and on at least one of those, Guthrie got his ankles broken before he ran into his own teammate. That's 100% true.
Mm-hmm.
That
was a good, okay. Like, I'm not defending anybody. That was a great route, by the way.
Yeah, it was, but also, what is he?
You're just out of position.
What's 21 doing?
He bit so hard on the curl.
What's 21 doing?
So hard.
Yeah. Like, what are we doing?
He's jumping the route. He thought it was, it's weird because he didn't, Gronowski didn't pump fake it.
Like, that's what I mean. That's what I mean.
He was eyeing it the whole time, and I don't know if they were in a man, but he charged it. And then 81 turns around, and it's like,
bad read. It was a bad read.
Yep.
He jumped it with no pump fake. Like, there's a difference between trying to close and jumping, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he wasn't trying to close. He was trying to jump the route. And honestly, I know people really like aggressiveness, but that is a problem that we saw across multiple positions with a bunch of guys, even guys that we like. Like, that's a different thing, because there's a bunch of guys and a bunch of plays over the course of the season. And this is not just a today or Penn State thing. This is all year, even in games where Nebraska won and played better. Like, there's been times throughout the year where, and I do think the trust word got brought up here, I don't think the players either trust, I don't know if it's they don't trust the guys behind them or what's being called, but there is a lot of like hero ball. Like,
yes.
Sierra Wright, when he gets on the blitz, he has to just contain Gronowski there. You have to stay outside of him. That is a non-negotiable.
You don't have to make that play.
You have
Because
to make sure
he's going to roll out. Well, guess what? Force him the other way. If he's rolling out that way, chances are all the routes are going that way. Force him the other way so he has to throw across the field.
Yes. Like you have to do your job there. And sometimes your job isn't making the actual play. Like Sierra Wright has to keep contained there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rex Guthrie has to not get put into the ground by a tight end on a stop and go, right? Your job isn't to try and get a pick six there. Your job is a lot of times on defense is to contain, right? And whether you're late or whatever, you have to do your job, not try and be a hero. And we saw that with Williams Nwaneri earlier in the season, where he gets a little bit too aggressive and cuts in too quick and guys get outside of him. Like, I don't like that is a thing that is consistent across this season. And yes, DBJR, it is players, but at a certain point, you either have to play different players or you have to teach them to do something else.
It's on the players to make those plays or to not overrun those plays or to not mess up in those moments. But if it continually happens, not saying it has, if it continually happens, then that's on the coaches to make a change. And I understand this is a hard part because we don't see their practices. We don't know how these guys play in practice or if the people behind them are even, capable of doing any of these things, or in practice they're just kind of inept and the coach is like, I can't play the guy who's behind him. And again, if it comes to down to that, then that's on the recruiting, which guess what is back on the coaches.
Sure. Yeah. Either you've got players that can make the plays or don't, or you develop the players to give other guys a chance, or you don't, or you're teaching or coaching guys to play differently, or you don't, right? Like, I completely understand that some of this is on players, but if it's on the players, you have to put a different player in. You just do.
And when I say coaches, I mean all of the coaches. As Ravi listed them off earlier, that includes the head coach, Matt Rule. When I say coaches, I mean everyone.
Yeah.
He's the closer, which means in recruiting, he's the one that usually goes in to shut it down. So again, when I say coaches, I mean everyone.
Yes, like everyone. And I'm not going to sit here and say I think Rule should be fired, because I don't think just starting over every 3 years.
It's not the way to go.
Is the answer. No. I really don't. I think that was one of the huge, for as unlikely as it was in retrospect that Scott Frost was ever going to succeed because of just who he is as a person. Starting him off the way they did by firing Riley after 3 years really, really hurt their cause. Firing a guy midway, especially then when transfer portal wasn't a thing, firing a guy midway through rebuild is really hard on the next guy also, right? So,
and yeah, because it's not only that is like the immediate class for those guys. Like when you fire a coach midway or at the end of the season, like they're leaving or they're not going to cut. Like, I understand however you feel about Riley, whatever. I don't care. He's not here, whatever. Yeah. He was in line to have a pretty damn good recruiting class that last year. If the guys that were rumored to be committing and potentially signing actually followed through with that, was going to be a damn good class with some damn good players. Didn't happen. I get it. The recruits before the Calabrasca movement, whatever, failed. Cool, whatever. You fire him, you hire Frost. Those guys didn't show up. Frost brought in his own class. Those things happened those 3 years. He gets fired. And then you go through an entire season, you hire Matt Rule, and you're kind of going through the same thing. Do you want to go do you want to go 3 years, fire this coach, and then guess what? The recruiting class for next year and the year after, like, you're going to have to find somebody to rebuild those. And I understand they're not skipping a recruiting class, but this 26 class is light in terms of high school.
It's going to have to be all I mean, like, the portal class better be enormous and talented. Like, it better be. Like, there's no other way around this. Clearly, like, the guys out there, because here's the only way I can justify not seeing different guys out there, right? Is that the guys behind them are so far behind, which I don't think is true, but that's the only way that makes sense to not play some of these other guys, And if they're that far behind, then you have to go portaling hard, right? Like you have to go portaling so hard and like just get guys ready to go. And yes, you want them to fit in like culture wise and personality wise and whatever. But if you're telling me that what we saw today is the best they have to offer, then you have to go portal and bring in like 20, 25, however many new guys. Like if that's what you're telling me, right? Like that's what it is. So either the guys that you either have, basically I'm in one of two spots. Either the guys that didn't play behind the guys that did should have played, and then you have to evaluate what's happening on the coaching staff, or those guys weren't ready and you have to go get new guys that are ready to play right now. Right? Like that's where it's at. That's where it's at. That's where I'm at. Like I don't know where else to go from here. You kind of have to reevaluate everything.
Yeah, every like you said, everything's on the table. You need to figure out what the hell you're going to do going forward. You still have a bowl game. You have these extra practices to get these young guys ready. Maybe this is the point where you, like you said, you get some of these guys who you haven't seen some playing time, and you're able to see what you can do building towards the future of next year. But then you're going to have, like you said, you're going to have to hit the portal hard. You're going to have to look for somebody's to come in and make some, whether it's pushing who you have on the roster to perform at a higher level, or whether it's replacing guys on the roster who haven't performed to the level that you're expecting. This portal season is going to be massive for Nebraska, but you also have to remember, and this is something that I don't know if people think about, is that these guys are leaving these teams for reasons, whether it's they weren't getting playing time, and that could be because they weren't good enough, or somebody much better than them showed up and they still have talent, or it's for whatever, maybe they want more money or whatever it is. But like, these guys are leaving these teams for reasons. So you do have to do your homework on them. And like you said, make sure they fit in culture-wise in the locker room, and obviously with the scheme that you're trying to run. It's going to be a very interesting offseason for Nebraska following National Signing Day and leading up to and after the bowl.
Yeah, and who knows what Dylan's going to do? I have no idea.
He looked like he was pretty bought in on his scooter today.
Yeah, I have no idea what that means. I really don't. I do think a year of development with TJ Lateef and whatever, like that can work. But at the end of the day, you got to fix the defense first and foremost.
Yeah. I mean, even with another year of development, I don't know what the scheme or the plan was this year with Dana Holgorsen, but I need Dana to go back to West Virginia, Dana. And maybe not air raid, but they ran the ball a decent amount at West Virginia as well. But I need that. I need that freeing the quarterback up to make some plays, because it seemed way too vanilla all season.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just a system versus style thing, like Big Ten style versus Dana system. I don't know. I really don't. What I do know is it didn't look the way it needed to on either side of the ball, especially about halfway through the season. So whatever that means and whatever failure occurred to make that happen, I don't pretend to know. What I do know was it clearly something broke. And I don't know that you can fix it.
It wasn't just Dylan's leg.
Yeah, it wasn't just Dylan's leg. I don't know that you can run it back and convince me it's fixed. I don't. I really don't.
Before this game, I mean, I felt pretty good about running it back and just adding a couple pieces.
Yeah,
which is crazy how different one game can change all of the expectations for the next season. Like, I knew that there were holes and I knew that there were problems, but to have them exposed back-to-back weeks the way that they were just kind of puts it all into perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I think the back-to-back weeks is really stark. I think the accumulation of some of the failures is really stark. And I also think like the way it looks like does matter, right? Like at a certain point, you can't explain away wins or losses. Obviously that's something I've been big on for a while, but if losses look a certain way, I do think you have to say, hey, we got to reevaluate some things.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't know what this guy's, looks like Nate, call him Nate. Listen,
Yeah.
I like that there's progress, that they've had 2 straight winnings, or they'll have 2 straight winning seasons for the first time in a decade. I think that's positive. I also think that there was much more room for progress this year that we failed to reach. Like I think that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
I
Like not
said
even thinking about the whole rule year 3 thing,
no,
just based on how the
based
team
on
looked
last
last
year
year,
to this
how they
year.
looked in the bowl game, how they looked earlier in the season, and how you just it's one of those where you see it and you're thinking, okay, with even a little bit of progress, I understand all the other teams are progressing as well, but with a little bit of progress, a couple changes here and there, Nebraska could be pretty dangerous at the end of the season, and it didn't happen.
No,
It regressed mightily.
yeah, I do think that there was a level of from mid-season to now. I do think there was a level of regression, because if this team, honestly, if this team was like, if this team was going to go play Michigan now, I have no confidence it would look any better than Iowa or Penn State did. Like, I really don't. And
If
that's,
they played Michigan, if they played Michigan today instead of Iowa, I feel like it would have looked the same as today.
oh, say as today, not as it
As
did
today.
against
No,
Michigan.
no. If the team that played Michigan showed up in the same way against Penn State and Iowa, those are either one score losses or wins. They're definitely not blowouts.
They at least split.
And I
Husker
don't know what happened from that time to now.
Husker Central, I don't know what you heard that made you think that I was excited about being 7-5. Like I don't
No.
know what, like I don't
I was excited about a potential 8th win today, and that didn't happen.
Rewind the tape, because that has not been conveyed at any point that we're excited about 7-5. Like that's not, like I don't know if you just came in on the exact wrong spot and heard something out of context or what, but like I don't think anybody, even the people that disagree with me in the chat or whatever, I don't think anybody would be like, yeah, Ravi seems super stoked about 7-5.
Yeah, Ravi's jacked about 7-5. He thinks it's a great season.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. He was talking about what rule. Okay, I was very confused there for a second, because I was like, I don't know how you heard that at all. Yeah, I was like, I don't really know what to do with that there, but
yeah,
I was very confused.
yeah.
But like I don't know. I don't have a ton else. I do think you have to reevaluate almost everything at this point. Like this is wholly unacceptable, and there's no way around that. Like there just isn't. There's not. You have to figure out. You have to
Everything.
figure out a way to get more out of the players you think are quality, which I think a lot of these players are quality as well. I think you have to find a way to get more out of what you've built so far. And like, if that means replacing some people, that means replacing some people. It just does.
There's talent on this roster. I don't care what anybody says about how Nebraska, do they need to go out and get more? Yes, obviously. But the talent on this roster is better than 7-5. The coaches on this roster are better than 7-5. I don't know where the changes need to occur, or who needs to leave, or who needs to be asked to leave or be fired or enter the portal, or who you need to bring in. But what I do know is that the games that this season, there has been so many flashes of good to great that I don't want this one loss to overshadow some of the progress that was made this year. It's really hard. It's really hard.
Yeah.
But I do think that this team, with how young they are, has a chance to do something. I don't know, next year. We're not going to get into the schedule talk until after the offseason, once we figure out who goes where and what teams have what and what quarterbacks and wide receivers and running backs and offensive line, defensive players stay and which ones go to whatever teams. I'm not going to do that. But the youth and the talent on this roster is much better than what they've shown this season.
Yeah, and you've got to find the people that can get it out of them. Like that's
kind of what it's going to come down to.
Like if Nebraska just decides to run it back next year, they have to look so much better. And I don't anticipate, like, that's really hard to imagine at this point, of just running it back with same guys, same coaches, everything. Like, that is really hard.
Then something behind the scenes is going to have to change. Something that we don't know about. Maybe something is going on internally that nobody knows about.
Yeah,
and
I have
that
no idea.
Changes. Like, if you're running it back with the same players, the same coaches, and you're adding a couple, obviously the freshmen and whatever transfers you added, you're running it back next season, something internally is changing. Whether somebody is, whoever makes those decisions on who goes into the game and who comes out of the game, whether that's changing or whether the talent evaluation within the program is changing, there has to be a change if you decide to run it back.
Yeah, like I said, and I'll finish here, is I don't know where the failures occurred. Like, I have no idea where the failures occurred. But what I do know is there were catastrophic failures, especially late in the season. And if those aren't addressed, going to be a real tough sell next year. Like, going to be a real tough sell next year. That is, I think that's unequivocally true. Rico, you have any other final thoughts?
Not really. I'm excited to see where Nebraska goes bowling. It's probably not going to be down in Florida anywhere. So wherever they go, I wish the best for our Hurrdat Sports Hail Varsity teams that have to go wherever Nebraska's going. And I don't know. I truly don't know.
Yeah,
I've run out of steam. I've run out of anger now, and I'm kind of coming down from the anger and the frustration and the disappointment. Just we were texting each other during the game along with Austin, and it just sucks, man.
Yeah, there was a lot of hope and listen, I'm going to be optimistic in general. That's just kind of how I am. Like, I expect good things to happen, and I'm sure on Monday I will have calmed down a little bit, but I genuinely am stunned and kind of embarrassed about embarrassed about how today went. Like, that's an impossible way to feel like this is a season you can feel good about. That's not to say that there's not things they can build off of here, but like it's got to look better soon, or it's gonna be tough. Like, it's gonna be tough out here. So that's all I got, Rico. I hope the rest of everybody's Thanksgiving weekend is better than today. At least they had the decency to get this one out of the way on Friday so that you can enjoy a Saturday and Sunday uninterrupted by the frustrations that we felt today.
Yeah, you get to see you tomorrow. Be excited for Lane Kiffin's decision. But tonight, I mean, look, don't let the football game get you down too much. There's a blackout at Devaney tonight.
Yeah, go hang out at Devaney, have a good time, and
Nebraska, Penn State gonna play, and that should be a really good volleyball matchup that you can watch. And thank you guys for listening to the Hail Varsity Not So Positive Postgame Show today. We have one more of these for Nebraska's bowl game, whenever and wherever that is played. And if you guys want some more and probably some better breakdowns of what happened today, be sure to tune in on Monday for Hurrdat Sports Live with Ravi and Damon Benning at 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. They'll be doing that. And you can listen to all of the posts, all of the podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Just look for Hurrdat Sports Live, and you'll be able to listen to that. And again, Damon is going to give a really good breakdown. Ravi is going to give when he calms down and watches the game over, is going to be able to give you some great insight. So tune in on Monday right here on all of the Hurrdat and Hail Varsity channels, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube on Monday, 7 a.m. to hear that breakdown.
There you go. That is Hail Varsity Postgame Show. Rico, appreciate you joining me today. Hope everybody has a good rest of their Thanksgiving weekend. Yeah, let's just try and forget this ever happened. I don't know what else to do if you want to try and have a good weekend.
Yep.
We will be back on Monday though with me and DB, and hope you have a good rest of your weekend.